What's good, gente? Thank you guys once again for tuning in. Like always, as you guys can see on the thumbnail and on the title, right? We're gonna be pretty much doing a reaction on my brother's case, right? This is actually a YouTuber that got the details almost to the dot, right? When it comes to my brother's case and old boy, lonely boy, right from the homie from the hood. So before I get started on this one, man, make sure to hit them likes, make sure to subscribe, hit that follow, hit that notification bell just in case we go live. You guys don't want to miss out. You guys already be knowing. And yeah, man, I'm doing this video as a to show the people, man, that agarro corte parejo, and it doesn't matter who it is, homie. I will try to keep it as respectful as possible. But on this one, man, I'm just gonna clear out some things, especially the things that they got wrong and stuff like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let's press play. So on this video right here, as you guys can see, Norteño versus Sureño. My brother did get caught up in a case right there in Target where they pretty much did a drive-by shooting. Call it what you want. It was a drive-by shooting. So with all that being said, let's get started on this video, man.
On July 23, 2011, Gustavo Zaragoza, along with his two cousins, went to a local shopping center located at 1425 Main Street in Watsonville. The shopping center contains various restaurants and stores such as Food Max, McDonald's, Staples, Target, and so much more. One of Gustavo's cousins wanted to buy an iPhone, so they made their way to Target.
So right there, where the Target happens to be located, yeah, it's on Main Street. Of course, there's way more stores than the ones they just mentioned. This just happens to be one of the little small shopping centers. This dude, Gustavo, the one that they're referring to right now that wants to buy an iPhone, happens to be the Sureño that was caught slipping, RIP to him. And I hope his family are somewhat doing good, man. At the end of the day, man, tragedies do happen. And I'm sorry that they had to go through that loss. Let's press play.
Target. Around 6:15 p.m., Gustavo and one of the cousin exited Target and began walking to their vehicle. The other cousin came out a few minutes later, when suddenly a green car drove by. The passenger of the vehicle gave Gustavo a look, then the car drove off.
So the green vehicle that they're referring to, the little, it happens to be a Honda. I'm not sure if they'll bring it up right now, but it was a little green Honda that happened to belong to not my brother personally, but to his family, right? And the reason why I don't include it as my family is because this was part of the relationship that he was dating at the time, right? So it was old girl's family, and that was the vehicle. Now the passenger of the vehicle, man, that gave Gustavo a bad look, pretty much that's the homeboy, lonely boy. Shout outs to the homie lonely and free the homie, man. Real talk. Let's press play.
As the trio approached their car, the passenger of the green car began shooting at them from behind. Multiple rounds were fired, striking Gustavo and one of his cousins. Cars nearby were also hit. The suspect stopped firing and the car sped off the shopping center.
In Watsonville, this is something that happens a lot, right? Some of the shootings and stuff like that doesn't even come out on the news, or it doesn't make it because people they don't testify, and they just mind their own business, homie. So this is something that happens regularly in Watsonville. Of course, man, when it happens to be like in the scenery where it took place, like this one happened to be right there in Target, which wasn't so smart, right? Because there's a lot of cameras, and wherever there's cameras, you're gonna get busted, man. So let's press play.
With so many people around calling 911, the police arrived within minutes. One of the officers saw Gustavo in a pool of blood gasping for air and began giving CPR. Medical responders arrived and treated Gustavo, but he died at the scene. Gustavo's cousin appeared to have been shot in the right elbow. She was taken to the hospital and treated.
Okay, so I was gonna mention that that dude Gustavo's cousin happened to be a female, but they did point it out here, right? So there was a female that also got hit, while it happened, right? Of course, I don't agree on how it took place. I mean, like if they're gonna bang, they could have been done way different, and more than likely they would have got away. Not trying to say that I encourage violence or anything like that, man. Because at the end of the day, this was a tragedy, right? And especially where it took place, man, where there's a lot of families. Let's just put it for example, man. If a kid would have got hit or anything, yeah, it would have gone real bad, right? But it does happen, man. People get shot through the crossfire, which is unfortunate, but that happens to be life when you're banging, bro. This pans out, but that just happens to be the way it goes. Let's press play, man. So here's the video, guys. That's the little green car. The victims right there walking, which happens to be a Sureño. And even though, like, I'm gonna put pause right here, even though on the camera it doesn't really show like that they were banging on each other, right? I actually talked to my brother. I got to see the paperwork, right? Me personally. And even though I will explain that towards the end of it, because that's where they're gonna throw that in there. But even though they don't really show, oh boy, like trying to press up on the vehicle, right? The Sureño right here is just walking, and as you guys can see, man, there's a female, and of course, man, she does look a little young. Like I could be wrong, she could just be short, but that was the other victim, right? That ended up getting stracked as well. But this dude was banging on the homies and my brother. Those are facts. And let's press play. I think they do talk about that he was wearing a blue belt and shit like that. So he was a Sureño. It's not like they just shot a regular civilian or someone that was just there at the wrong time. It was actually an actual target. Let's just put it like that. He was a Sureño, and technically the homie Lonely was putting in work. Let's press play. And RIP to him, right? But I don't know if you guys were able to notice, he had a mean stroll, homie. And that's just the way it goes in Watson, homie. And this is not to be funny or anything, right? But I kind of figured, I was like, man, look at that fool, like that fool's walk, right? And like I said, RIP to him, and I hope that the family are doing good, man. I do really wish him the best. And I know my brother does too, man. He feels real bad about this situation. Let's press play. So as you guys can see, no one got off the vehicle. So this is where like I kind of noticed that they already had messed up, right? If you don't want to get someone get hit on the crossfire, you have to get off the vehicle, right? You actually have to get off the vehicle. So this is one of their mess ups, man, where they did ended up messing up. I honestly believe, right, if I happen to be out, because I was incarcerated with this ended up happening. I believe I was in Ironwood. Yeah, that's right. Exactly where I was at. I was in Ironwood. So when this ended up happening, I was like, what the fuck, Because in all reality, man, nothing like this was ever done before, like just careless, because this was careless, right? And I did talk to my brother and I got on his bumper, like, what the fuck were you even thinking, homie? But in all reality, man, the homie was just supposed to scare old boy and they were gonna follow him. That was the actual plan. But someone jumped the gun, and once it already had cracked off, it was a little too late, man. They had to do what they had to do and get out the scene. But let's finish this video, man.
The surviving victims gave a description of the vehicle and passenger. They described the car as a four-door green Honda. They only seen two people in the car, the driver and the passenger. The passenger was wearing a hat with the letter P. They both confirmed it was the passenger who started shooting.
So okay, so the eyewitnesses ended up pretty much pointing out the homie Lonely, right? Saying that he was the passenger, he was the one that actually did his thing. That was him putting in work. I don't know about the P hat. I actually don't. I never actually seen the homie Lonely have a P hat, right? So they could have got that part wrong. I don't even see a purpose of why he would have a P hat. You know what I'm saying? None of us ever had a P hat. Well, actually, I take that back. I had a Phillies hat, but it was for pony, right? So I don't see the homie wearing that type of hat, but that's what they described on the thing. So we're just gonna have to go with that one.
Three witnesses gave details and description of what happened. The first witness claimed she seen the passenger with his hand extended outside of the car window holding a chrome or a silver revolver. Second witness claimed she seen the passenger with a red hat and appeared to be Hispanic. She also
Okay, so as you can see, they're already kind of switching up. One said that he had a P hat. Now this one's saying that he had a red hat. You know, yeah, that's just like, but of course, man, they ended up getting busted, and it did go all bad. I'll say that, but there was a lot of witnesses, especially because of the where it took place, man. You know what I mean?
said the license plate on the car contained the number 4 in the letter U. Third witness said the driver of the vehicle had a red tattoo on his left side of his neck, but wasn't sure what it was.
So on the tattoos, me and my brother happen to have matching tattoos, right? The CW or the CM, I flip it at times. Technically, the ones in my hand, it's supposed to be for a CML, right? But when I just have my fist down, it's technically just a C and a W, right? For channel 5. And I put a pedal, guys. I'm just fucking with you guys. In jail, that's what the homies used to say about my tattoos. Like, hey, bro, you got CW on you, right? But technically, no, it's for Clifford Watson, Clifford Manor Locals. If I flip it, but he happens to have those tattoos on his neck, or he used to at one point, right? They're no longer there, but he did have a CW on his neck, and it was the color red, So that's what they ended up seeing.
While police officers were conducting their investigation, they obtained a still photo from a surveillance camera nearby. The photo contained an older green Honda Accord. The car also had a white spot on top of the hood. While officers were patrolling the nearby area, they spotted the green Honda in an apartment complex. The license plate of the car had 4 and U in the beginning, as one of the witnesses described it, and also had the white spot in the hood of the car. The car belonged to Miguel Angel Rodriguez. The police had the car towed to a facility for further inspection.
Well, they didn't really point out like the little apartments. I believe at this time, because I was already incarcerated, but I believe my brother ended up moving right there to the Stone Creek Apartments, and it's a well-known spot for like Nortenos, and cops are always passing through there, right? So they ended up spotting the vehicle. Like they said, they ended up towing it. Apparently, the vehicle did belong to my brother at that time, so more than likely he had purchased the vehicle from one of the family members of his ex-girlfriend. Let's press
While
play.
conducting a search of the interior of the car, they found a bag from Jack in the Box. In the bag was crumbs of food and 4.357 shell casings.
Um, yeah, I don't know why they didn't clean the vehicle. Um, that was another sloppy move of them. I know that once this thing took place, a lot of things took place, right? Like after this had happened. I know that a lot of people were on the move. I believe they're gonna point it out on the video. I'll stamp it for you guys if it's true. But yeah, man, they should have cleaned the vehicle, man. So they ended up finding a lot of stuff that should have been gone.
Officers went to the Jack in the Box and showed one of the employees a picture of the green Honda Accord. The employee identified the driver as Rodriguez by his red C tattoo on his left side of his neck.
So the people that were working on Jack in the Box, man, I know if it's the one by Green Valley, there was a lot of homies that used to work there, man. There was a lot of people that, even females, there was some females that knew us really good, man. So they were able to pinpoint him out hella quick, especially because of some of the tattoos, man. I know nowadays people ski mask all the way up so that you guys can't get caught like that because tattoos will put you in a bad spot, you know. And it happened to my brother, bro. This red tattoo was something that everybody was able to pinpoint right from the gate, right? There wasn't too many of them with a tattoo of a C, red, you know, a red C on the neck, you know. Let's just be real, man.
The DNA obtained from food inside of the jack in the box bag belonged to Cesar Rosales. Morgan Hill police contacted Watsonville police about a gun they had retrieved from an associate of the suspects. The handgun was a Luger 357. Future analysis determined the bullets that went into Gustavo was fired from the same gun.
So on
The
this one, I know a lot of people are confused, right? They're like, how did that gun, if it was confiscated and taken, how did it pop up, right? How did that gun pop up again? So I'm gonna give you guys a little insight, right? At least to what I was able to get out of that, right? Because I was like, man, why wasn't that gone? That cuete gone, right? Well, technically, right before that little shit had happened, right? That gun was taken away from someone. I'll just put it like that. It was taken away from someone that had a permit. He was able to retrieve the firearm back, right? But by the time he had retrieved it, of course, man, the cops had already did what they did, their little things, right? So that gun was technically sold later down the line, and it did turn up to be old boys now. You know what I'm saying?
police tried to capture both Rosales and Rodriguez, but they had fled the area. For about 2 years, they were on the run and eluding the police. On July 23, 2013, exactly 2 years after the crime, Rodriguez was arrested in Mexicali. The following day, Rosales was also arrested. After his arrest, Rodriguez decided to cooperate and testify against Rosales.
Okay, so I'm gonna put pause. My brother did get busted in Mex, right? They both fled to Mexico. Yeah, those are facts. They were both gone to Mex. I know that people are gonna like, man, well, old boy ended up getting arrested the next following day. So my brother was incarcerated in Mex for a little bit, right? But once they actually had caught him, they already knew everything, bro. They already knew exactly where was everybody at. The homie Lonely, bro, that fool's a crazy ass dude, man. Shout outs to the homie, man. He even went to go visit me, right? He went to go visit me in Soledad. I want to say in 2012. You know, he came back from Mexico and he was living life right here, right? To my knowledge, he did have a kid. He kind of was thinking that he got away with it, right? That technically the only one that was caught was my brother because he was the owner of the vehicle, and they technically only had his stuff. But as you guys were able to see on the thing, man, the DNA from like the food and everything that they were eating, right? It pointed out Lonely Boy. You know, it pointed out the homie Lonely. And this is some of the things that a lot of people didn't realize, you know, like, hey, they honestly thought that my brother had pinpointed from Max, you know, but nah, that's not how it went down. It took a little bit. My brother did end up defecting with the time. I had a lot of conversations with him about this, right? Because for a long time, I didn't talk to my brother for the same reason, right? Because I do consider Lonely to be like family, homie. I'll be quite real, man. I consider the homie to be family. He used to live with me, homie. Not too many homeboys can actually say that, right? Like, hey, the homie lived with me and he was always pretty much right there. You get me? But when it comes to like just people talking shit, right? They thought that old boy had pretty much pinpointed them out from the gate, carnal. And that's not how it went down, you know. Old boy was trying to get a deal. I'm referring to my brother. He was trying to get a deal, and he was trying to have the homie take a certain deal as well, right? Because they technically already knew what had happened, what went down, and all that, right? So my brother wanted old boy to take technically 25 to 30 years but that was without the L, right? So he would have been home, and my brother was gonna take 15 years. But it didn't go down like that, and things did take a change, right? But it wasn't just technically because of my brother. It was because of the certain conversations that were taking place in that transport bus, right? This is something that a lot of people don't realize. When you're getting transferred to court in those buses, most of the time they're recording, especially if they figured that they have someone in there that it's a high case, like especially when it comes to a murder. And if you're co-defendant or whatever, right, you happen to have them right there on that same bus, you know damn well there's going to be certain conversations taking place. And that's what ended up happening, right? They ended up having a certain conversation that my brother and Lonely Boy had. And it pointed out Lonely Boy as he was trying to manipulate certain things, bro. The span side, right? But it is what it is. That's what ended up happening. I have read the paperwork. And for the people that have read paperwork, they both snitch. Spencer. This Spencer. I know people are gonna be like, what the fuck? Because the homie Lonely is still active, right? But if you read the paperwork, it pinpoints out everybody, homie. So it is what it is. You can call it what you want. I didn't fuck with my brother for a long time because of this, right? And especially because I was pushing that certified stuff. But now that I beat cancer, I'm no longer pushing that certified stuff and just living my own life, right? I did open those doors again to have communication with my brother. He is technically blood, homie. So no matter how I want to see it, or whatever, right? And it's my brother, homie, and it is what it is. I won't put in work with them, you know. There's certain little things that I won't do, but that still happens to be my blood. But let's play though. That happens to be the homie Lonely, and that happens to be my brother right there.
Watsonville has been flooded with gangs throughout the years, but the most prominent gang in the city is the Nortenos. There are many subset within the Nortenos in Watsonville such as Clifford Manor Locos, CML, Barrio Green Valley, Landis Street etc. Rivals of the Nortenos are the Surenos. There ain't that many Surenos in Watsonville, but the one that stands out are the Poor Side Watsonville, PSW. Both Rodriguez and Rosales belong to the CML Norteños. It's unknown what subset of Sureños Gustavo belonged to, but it's
So they weren't able to really pinpoint what hood Gustavo was from. Anytime there's always a victim and stuff like that, they always say he didn't bang, he didn't woo woo. I'm sorry, right? I'm sorry for the family members, right? That they want to believe that. But in Watsonville, man, a lot of people bang, and even though you might not see it in your household, like, oh, there's no way, right? You don't know what they do outside of that, right? But when it comes to that dude Gustavo, there was a couple of things that they're gonna bring up, as you guys can see right here, that he did have in his pocket, right? From three dots to X3 to a blue bandana and all that little extra stuff, right? But to my knowledge, I do believe that Gustavo happened to be from Portside. He happened to be a Portside Chico, if I'm not mistaken. I know that he does come from a big family. I know that when I first paroled, or when my brother was actually in the process of getting out, there was a lot of threats coming from that family, right? And of course, nothing ended up happening. Luckily, right? Because at the end of the day, there could have been other people getting hurt, but they weren't able to clear old boy from not being a gang member. So at least that was something that on this article, or I don't know if they pinpointed that on the news, that oh boy was a gang member, homie. So it was pretty much gang related.
clear he belonged to the gang. The day of the murder, Gustavo was wearing blue shorts under his pants, blue shoes, and a blue bandana on one of his back pockets. He also had 3 dots in his chest and X3 on his shin.
So as you guys can see, this was actually Sureno, homie. There was someone that was proud of what he was repping. He had all those stuff, the tattoos, even went as far as to putting the X3 on his chin. So, man, that's the life, homie. dispense on. But I do wish the family the best, though.
Since Rodriguez made an agreement with the district attorneys to testify and cooperate, he only had to plead for manslaughter and gang enhancement. Rodriguez only faced minimum of 13 years with the maximum of 21 years. Cesar Rosales.
And this is where, okay, so that's what my brother was facing. I can actually say he didn't get that much time, you know. So this is where they pinpoint some things that weren't accurate, right? But I'm gonna clear it up for you guys, at least for my subscribers, right?
Was sentenced to life without parole with consecutive to 55 to life.
Free the homie lonely, man.
Miguel Angel Rodriguez is currently serving his time at California Healthcare Facility in Stockton. He's eligible for parole in April of 2026.
So this is where like a lot of the stuff came out wrong, right? Of course, if old boy was looking him up, if he did type up Miguel Rodriguez, there's a lot with the same name. I have that same problem, bro. I have some people try to troll me and they try to like, hey, that's you, right? Charles, that's not me, homie. Um, they technically looked up someone that had the same name, and that's where he happened to be located. Technically, my brother never went to prison, bro. He never hit a SMY. He never hit none of those yards, right? He ended up getting out from the county, and I can actually say he's doing good. He's living life out here. He's doing his best. He's staying out the way, which is more important, right? But this is where they did get it wrong. The homie Caesar, he did get life, man. And I wish him, you know what I'm saying, nothing but the best, homie. I know he does have some appeals, and I hope he's able to really get his appeals going, right? Because at the end of the day, bro, even though it was a tragedy, right? Man, I know he has a family out here, and more than likely, if he did get the opportunity, right, to get out, he probably would do good, you know, especially because before he got busted, it seemed to be that he was in the right steps, homie. You know, a lot of the times when people do put in work like this, um, you see them, homie. You know, you see them, and it makes you reflect in life. Of course, that's not with everybody, right? But most of the time, that's what ends up going down, bro. And it does change a lot of people's lifestyle. Of course, the homie Lonely was still active, and he's still active to this day, right? But I guarantee you, man, that if he was able to make some better decisions in life, he would most definitely. This would have been one of them. But let's press play, man.
Cesar Rosales is serving his life sentence at California State Prison Solano in Vacaville. Thanks for watching. Please
And shit. So with all that being said, gente, you guys make sure to tell me what you guys think, right? But I wanted to make this video, this reaction, especially because there's a couple of people out there, man, that they honestly think that I won't do videos on certain things, and I just want to like do videos on things that can can harm, certain organizations and stuff like that. Not chalice, homie. We do videos on everything, and we try to keep it as professional and as equal, homie. Like I'm not gonna discriminate someone, or I'm not gonna talk smack about someone just because I don't like them, homie. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, this was a tragedy on all ends. You know, my brother's over here doing his thing, and even though he is living life somewhat good, I guarantee you, homie, he's not as comfortable as he once was. You know, now he has to be looking over his shoulder, and especially because, man, he put in someone that, well, he didn't technically put him in, but he knew that the homie Lonely was someone close, not just to the hood, but to us, homie. He was technically considered family as well. So it sucks, homie, in all ends, right? That's how we see it. The homie Lonely's over there doing live, which I really hope he has his appeal, homie. You know what I'm saying? And we'll see what happens. Someone lost their life on the other end, but that's like I said, man, that's the gang life, man, in Watson. So with all that being said, gente, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, man, make sure to hit a like for your boy. Make sure to subscribe, hit that follow, hit that notification bell, just in case we go live so you don't miss out on anything, right? And with all that being said, gente, thank you guys once again for your support. And thank you guys for tuning in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Woohoo! What fuck squirt gun?
All right, guys. Catch you on the next one.